forever going to be there, but, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there.
When a Pro Bowl defensive end calls out his own head coach, then leaves for another team saying, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there, that's the kind of NFL drama that breaks the internet. The DeMarcus Lawrence and Mike McCarthy saga just exploded again with shocking new developments that have both Cowboys Nation and Seahawks fans losing their minds. Here's what really happened: the heated moments. Have you seen that explosive footage making rounds on social media? The one showing DeMarcus Lawrence and Mike McCarthy in what appears to be a heated sideline confrontation. The clip that's racking up millions of views across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, here's the thing. The truth is, what's actually gone viral isn't just one isolated incident, but the entire complicated saga between former Dallas Cowboys defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence and ex-head coach Mike McCarthy. Their relationship, simmering with underlying tension and occasionally boiling over into public view, offers a rare glimpse into the high-stakes world of America's team. The first significant instance of friction emerged in October 2020 during McCarthy's inaugural season with the Cowboys. Following a humiliating 25-3 loss to Washington in Week 7, which dropped the team to a concerning 2-5 record, Lawrence publicly expressed frustration with the team's apparent lack of fight and determination. This defeat marked the 6th consecutive game in which the Cowboys had trailed by at least 14 points, highlighting serious deficiencies in both preparation and execution. In the aftermath of this embarrassing loss, Lawrence didn't mince words when addressing the team's performance. We need more belief and more high spirits around this team, and really, more fight. That's really, I feel like, one of our weaknesses. We need to build a stronger backbone fight and also make sure that we brought everything possible to come out with a victory, he stated, as reported by USA Today on October 26, 2020. While Lawrence's criticism was directed at the team collectively rather than specifically at McCarthy, the timing and nature of his comments implicitly reflected on the new head coach's leadership. This was particularly significant given contemporaneous reports that anonymous players had criticized the coaching staff's preparation methods, suggesting a disconnect between McCarthy's approach and the players' expectations. For a new coach attempting to establish his culture and authority, having a respected veteran leader publicly call out the team's lack of backbone represented an early sign that McCarthy faced challenges in winning over the locker room. The more direct and consequential heated moment between Lawrence and McCarthy occurred in September 2024, during what would ultimately be McCarthy's final season with the team. After beginning the year with a promising victory over the Cleveland Browns in Week 1, the Cowboys suffered consecutive losses to the New Orleans Saints and Baltimore Ravens, allowing a staggering 72 combined points in those two defeats. The defense, where Lawrence served as a key leader and veteran presence, was particularly disappointing, ranking 26th in the league at that point in the season. Following these concerning performances, Lawrence publicly addressed the team's execution of McCarthy's game plan in a manner that could be interpreted in multiple ways. According to reporting from September 24, 2024, Lawrence stated that the team was playing Little League football instead of pro football and urged his teammates to do what the coaches teach, specifically emphasizing the need to play gaps and play blocks. He included himself in this criticism, suggesting that players throughout the roster needed to execute more effectively. This statement created an interesting dynamic. On one hand, Lawrence appeared to support McCarthy by placing the blame on player execution rather than coaching strategy. On the other hand, his comments highlighted a fundamental disconnect between the coaching staff's instructions and the players' implementation on the field, a problem that ultimately reflects on the head coach's ability to effectively communicate and instill his system. The fact that Lawrence felt compelled to publicly call for better adherence to coaching directives suggested that McCarthy was struggling to ensure consistent execution of his game plan. The context surrounding these heated moments is crucial for understanding their significance. Both instances occurred during periods of subpar team performance, McCarthy's difficult first season and his challenging final campaign. The 2024 incident is particularly telling, as it came amid a wave of injuries to key players and foreshadowed the season-long struggles that would eventually lead to McCarthy's departure. Moreover, Lawrence's foot injury, which occurred shortly after his public comments, prevented him from personally helping to address the issues he had identified, potentially exacerbating the defensive problems. It's worth noting that the relationship between Lawrence and McCarthy wasn't entirely contentious. Just weeks before Lawrence's September 2024 comments, McCarthy had publicly praised him, describing him as a bowling ball full of butcher knives, a colorful and complimentary description of Lawrence's playing style. This suggests a complex dynamic with moments of mutual respect interspersed with instances of tension or disagreement. But the true explosion in this relationship came after Lawrence left the Cowboys. In March 2025, shortly after signing his 3-year contract with the Seattle Seahawks, Lawrence ignited a firestorm of controversy with comments that cut straight to the heart of the Dallas Cowboys' decades-long championship drought. During a candid interview with Hawk Blogger, Lawrence was asked about the emotional experience of transitioning to a new team after spending his entire 11-year career with the Cowboys. His response, which began as a thoughtful reflection on his connection to Dallas, took an unexpected turn that would reverberate throughout the NFL.
Definitely love the atmosphere. Change the scenery is always good, but, Dallas is my home. I made my home there. My family lives there. I'm forever going to be there, but, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah. We here.
We're here. DeMarcus Lawrence, welcome to the Seahawks.
This statement, particularly the definitive declaration that he knew for sure he wouldn't win a Super Bowl in Dallas, struck an extraordinarily sensitive nerve. Coming from a player who had spent over a decade with the organization without advancing past the divisional round of the playoffs, it was interpreted as both a personal indictment of the Cowboys' championship prospects and a brutally honest assessment of a franchise that hadn't reached a Super Bowl since the 1995 season. The fallout from Lawrence's comments was swift and explosive. Perhaps the most vehement reaction came from Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons, who had emerged as a defensive centerpiece during his 4 seasons playing alongside Lawrence. Parsons took to social media platform X, formerly Twitter, to express his displeasure, posting, "This what rejection and envy look like. This some clowns are," a direct and unambiguous response to Lawrence's Super Bowl remarks. Not one to back down from confrontation, Lawrence promptly fired back on the same platform, writing, "Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left." This retort escalated what might have been a passing comment into a full-fledged public feud between former teammates, highlighting the raw emotions involved when long-tenured players depart organizations under less than ideal circumstances. Lawrence even took the extraordinary step of changing his profile picture on X to an image of former Cowboys celebrating their last Super Bowl victory in 1995, further emphasizing his point about the franchise's prolonged championship drought and adding fuel to the already blazing controversy. DeMarcus Lawrence's career growth. DeMarcus Lawrence, known affectionately to fans as Tank or D-Law, carved out an exceptional 11-year career with the Dallas Cowboys from 2014 to 2024. Selected in the second round of the 2014 NFL Draft out of Boise State, Lawrence would go on to become one of the franchise's most impactful defensive players of the modern era. His statistical accomplishments speak volumes about his dominance. 61.5 career sacks, placing him 10th in Cowboys history, 450 tackles, 21 forced fumbles, and 126 quarterback hits. These impressive numbers earned him 4 Pro Bowl selections, 2017, 2018, 2022, and 2023, establishing him as one of the premier edge rushers in the NFL during his prime. What made Lawrence truly special wasn't just his statistical production, but his unique playing style and approach to the game. His relentless motor and disruptive presence earned him the respect of teammates, coaches, and opponents alike. Even Mike McCarthy, with whom he would later have tension, once paid him the ultimate compliment, describing him as a bowling ball full of butcher knives for his devastating combination of power, speed, and technical skill. However, Lawrence's final season with the Cowboys in 2024 was unfortunately cut short by a significant injury. In Week 4, he suffered a Lisfranc foot injury that required surgery and sidelined him for the remaining 13 games of the season. Before this setback, Lawrence had been performing at a high level, accumulating 14 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 5 quarterback hits in just 4 games, numbers that projected to another strong season had he remained healthy. The timing of this injury proved particularly problematic as Lawrence approached free agency at age 33, raising questions about his future with the organization. As the 2025 free agency period approached, Lawrence expressed a genuine desire to remain with the Cowboys, the only NFL team he had ever known. In March 2025, he publicly stated that staying in Dallas would be a glorious thing, highlighting his family's established roots in the area and his personal connection to the franchise. However, as is often the case in professional sports, business considerations ultimately trumped personal preferences. The Cowboys found themselves in a difficult financial position with just $3.86 million in salary cap space, the 8th least in the NFL. The organization faced pressing needs to extend younger defensive stars like Micah Parsons and Osa Odigizua, forcing difficult decisions about allocating resources. According to multiple reports, the Cowboys simply didn't offer Lawrence a competitive contract, suggesting that the combination of his age, 33, and their financial financial constraints led to a parting of ways. Lawrence himself later confirmed this, stating plainly that Dallas's offer wasn't there, indicating that the team's proposal fell well short of his market value. On March 12, 2025, Lawrence officially closed the Dallas chapter of his career, signing a 3-year, $42 million contract with the Seattle Seahawks, with $18 million guaranteed. This move wasn't simply about finding a new team. It was strategically designed to reunite Lawrence with Aden Dirty, his former defensive line coach from the Cowboys, 2021 to 2023, who had become Seattle's defensive coordinator. Lawrence emphasized the importance of this connection in his decision-making process, stating that he likely wouldn't have joined Seattle if Dirty wasn't part of the coaching staff.
Aden Dirty obviously coached you in Dallas. If he wasn't here, do you think you'd be here?
I mean, in all honesty, most likely not. Just because I know his style, his system, what he's expecting from me, and I know he can help me get back to the D-Law everybody knows.
Lawrence's transition to Seattle marked not just a change in uniform, but potentially a shift in his career trajectory. After more than a decade wearing the iconic star on his helmet without achieving the ultimate goal of a Super Bowl victory, Lawrence found himself in the Pacific Northwest with renewed purpose. The move represented both an acknowledgement of football's business realities and a personal quest to achieve championship success that had eluded him in Dallas, a pursuit that would later spark controversy when he publicly commented on the Cowboys' Super Bowl prospects. DeMarcus Lawrence's transition to the Seattle Seahawks represented a significant new chapter for the veteran defensive end, one filled with fresh challenges and opportunities after spending his entire 11-year NFL career with the Dallas Cowboys. At age 32 and coming off a season shortened by a Lisfranc foot injury, Lawrence arrived in the Pacific Northwest with something to prove, both to himself and to the Cowboys organization that had deemed him expendable. Lawrence's 3-year signaled Seattle's substantial confidence in his continued effectiveness despite his age and recent injury history. This significant financial commitment reflected the Seahawks' belief that Lawrence could be a difference maker for their defensive front, with Pro Football Focus even designating his signing as Seattle's most impactful free agency acquisition of the offseason. Beyond his connection with Dirty, Lawrence was attracted to Seattle's defensive talent and passionate fan base. In his early media appearances with the Seahawks, he specifically praised the team's defensive line, which featured established veterans like Leonard Williams and Jaron Reed, alongside promising young talent like Byron Murphy II.
Oh man, like I said earlier, we have an amazing group here already, and just for me to, come in and be a part of it, it's truly a blessing. Those guys are, having themselves a great career, and just being able to line up with some of the guys like Jaden Reed, Leonard Williams, some of the names, and just being able to go out there and attack, and have fun, and can hear the 12, shout all day. So
It's a pretty stacked room.
When asked to describe his playing style and what he would bring to the Seahawks, Lawrence emphasized his disruptive nature and ability to create problems for opposing offenses. In a particularly revealing interview, he stated, "I look at my game as someone to cause havoc. It don't matter where you line me up on the D-line, I'm a cause havoc, and I'm going to start fearing that guy in front of me because of who I am and the type of player that I am." This aggressive mindset aligned perfectly with Seattle's defensive philosophy under head coach Mike Macdonald and coordinator Aden Dirty. Lawrence also expressed particular enthusiasm about playing in front of Seattle's renowned 12S, the Seahawks' passionate fan base known for creating one of the loudest game day environments in the NFL. He recalled his previous experience playing at Lumen Field as a visitor. Yeah, and that's, what really sold me for Seattle is the fan base. I had an opportunity to play back in 2016 or whatever, and just to hear the atmosphere and how loud the fans get out here, it's a beautiful thing. Lawrence added that he looked forward to engaging with fans during games, noting, "I could turn them up. I could tell them to be quiet a little bit, So just, engaging with that entertainer aspect of the game," though he quickly acknowledged that Seattle fans were unlikely to quiet down when he requested it. For Lawrence personally, joining the Seahawks represented not just a continuation of his career, but a genuine opportunity for rejuvenation. He described the move as, alleged victims, he's uncomfortable speaking out. We can only speculate. Then there's Justin Bieber. According to Forbes, Bieber met Diddy when he was just 15 years old and spent significant time with him, including a 48-hour period documented in a November 2009 YouTube video. In this video, Diddy announced, having 48 hours with Diddy. We're hanging out and we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. Then Bieber said, "Let's go get some girls." And Diddy replied, "A man after my own heart." Excuse me? A grown man taking a 15-year-old boy for 48 hours to do things they can't really disclose and encouraging him to get some girls? That's giving major predator vibes. However, just recently, on May 16, 2025, Bieber's representative statement to Reuters saying, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him. Shifting focus away from this reality detracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. Bieber is officially denying being a victim, which is important to note. And then there's Meek Mill. His name has been mentioned in connection with Diddy's lawsuits, with speculation about a potential relationship or other wrongdoing. A Reddit discussion in February 2024 noted that Meek Mill was mentioned in a lawsuit, but the exact details were unclear. According to Slate, there are conspiracy theories including claims of a sexual relationship between Diddy and Meek Mill, but no concrete evidence or direct accusations have been made against Meek Mill by Diddy or vice versa. But let's get back to the central figure in Diddy's current legal trouble, Cassie Ventura. Her testimony in court has been absolutely devastating. According to CNN, she detailed their relationship, which started platonically in 2006 when she was 19 and signed Cowboy Records, and Diddy was 17 years older. They did off and on until 2018. Cassie described violent arguments stating Diddy would smash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, stomp me. She detailed a 2009 incident where Diddy threw her to the floor in an SUV and stomped on her face, forcing her to a hotel to hide her injuries. During her cross-examination, Cassie expressed frustration with the defense's selective text messages that supposedly showed consensual aspects of their relationship. Stated, "This achievement not reached by the Cowboys since 1993 to 1995. McCarthy's teams managed just a single playoff victory, a 31-14 road win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2022 wildcard round. While this win broke a significant drought representing the Cowboys' first road playoff victory in over 30 years, it stood as a lone bright spot amid a series of painful postseason exits. Perhaps the most devastating of these playoff failures came in January 2024, when the Cowboys suffered a humiliating 48-32 home loss to McCarthy's former team, the Green Bay Packers, in the wild card round. This defeat was particularly crushing because it came after a 12-5 regular season and NFC East title, with Dallas entering the postseason as the NFC's second seed. The loss was so demoralizing that Jerry Jones described it as one of the most painful in franchise history, highlighting the enormous gap between expectations and results. McCarthy's final season with the Cowboys in 2024 represented a significant regression. The team finished with a disappointing 7-10 record, their worst mark since his inaugural 2020 campaign, which ended at 6-10. To be fair, the 2024 season was severely impacted by injuries to key players, including quarterback Dak Prescott, hamstring injury in Week 9, guard Zach Martin, ankle, defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, foot, cornerback Trayvon Diggs, season-ending knee injury, and wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, shoulder. These injuries contributed to the team's struggles, particularly on defense, where they allowed 27.5 points per game, 31st in the NFL, and ranked 28th in yards allowed. Beyond the on-field challenges, McCarthy also faced disciplinary issues related to NFL practice rules. In 2021, he was fined $50,000 for involving younger players in practice sessions during OTAs, which were supposed to be limited to veterans. The following year, he was fined $100,000, and the Cowboys were docked a 2023 OTA practice for canceling a practice in favor of a team bonding golf event. While these infractions might seem minor in isolation, they contributed to a perception of organizational mismanagement that undermined confidence in McCarthy's leadership. When McCarthy's contract expired in January 2025, both sides mutually agreed to part ways. The official announcement from the Cowboys acknowledged his contributions while making it clear the organization was ready to move in a new direction. Following his departure, McCarthy made the decision not to coach in the 2025 season, instead focusing on the 2026 hiring cycle, a strategic pause suggesting he recognized the need to reassess his approach before pursuing another head coaching opportunity. The saga of the Lawrence-McCarthy relationship had significant repercussions for the Dallas Cowboys organization. From a personnel perspective, losing Lawrence created a substantial void in the Cowboys' defensive line. Despite his injury-shortened 2024 season, Lawrence had been a cornerstone of the defense for over a decade, providing not just pass-rushing productivity, but also leadership, run-stopping ability, and a consistent presence that teammates could rely upon. His absence meant greater responsibility for the remaining defensive veterans, particularly Micah Parsons, who had emerged as a defensive star, but was still developing as a a vocal leader. Parsons embraced this expanded leadership role following Lawrence's departure, declaring, "I thought it was my time last year. Now it's my time to really take over," a statement that reflected the changing dynamics within the Cowboys locker room. When revisiting his social media feud with Lawrence in April 2025, Parsons framed his response as setting a tone for a new era under head coach Brian Schottenheimer, stating, "We ain't gonna tolerate the dumb stuff that was going on," suggesting a desire to establish a different culture moving forward. The financial implications of Lawrence's departure were significant as well. His contract with the Seahawks meant that he would count $7.445 million against the Cowboys' salary cap in 2025 due to dead money from his previous deal. While this wasn't ideal, it did provide the Cowboys with greater financial flexibility for the future, particularly important as they faced decisions about extending younger stars. Parsons, for instance, was playing on his fifth-year option worth $24.07 million in 2024 and was expected to command a massive extension, potentially exceeding $40 million per year, a reflection of the escalating market for elite defensive talents. The Cowboys' response to Lawrence's departure extended beyond just financial and roster adjustments. The organization needed to address the emotional impact of losing a long-tenured leader, especially one who left with such pointed comments about the team's championship prospects. Lawrence's assertion that he knew for sure he wouldn't win a Super Bowl in Dallas struck at a deep insecurity within the franchise and its fan base. The Cowboys had not reached a Super Bowl since the 1995 season, a drought spanning nearly 30 years that has been a persistent source of frustration for a franchise that bills itself as America's team and boasts one of the most passionate fan bases in professional sports. When asked about Lawrence's comments and their subsequent exchange, Parsons vigorously defended both his commitment to the Cowboys and his social media activities. In an interview with Clarence Hill of All City DLLS, Parsons stated, "I think it's ridiculous. You watch the tape. There's no question I'm locked in. I'm giving my actual best effort out there on the field, which I think that's all that matters." He justified his social media presence by explaining, "Everyone has their selection of how they want to deal with things. Some people drink, some people smoke. I like to tweet." A response that highlighted the generational differences in how players engage with fans and manage their public personas. The controversy also created a fascinating subplot for the 2025 season. Would Lawrence find the Super Bowl success in Seattle that had eluded him in Dallas, or would the Cowboys prove him wrong by making a deep playoff run without him? This narrative became a focal point for NFL analysts and fans alike, adding extra intrigue to both teams' seasons and ensuring that Lawrence's comments would continue to reverberate throughout the league. In many ways, Lawrence's departure and provocative statements served as a catalyst for soul-searching within the Cowboys organization, forcing them to confront difficult questions about their identity, culture, and championship prospects. As they moved forward without one of their longtime defensive leaders, the Cowboys faced the challenge of not just replacing Lawrence's on-field production, but also proving that his assessment of their Super Bowl chances was fundamentally mistaken, a task that would require overcoming the postseason disappointments that had defined the franchise for nearly 3 decades. The saga of DeMarcus Lawrence and Mike McCarthy represents far more than just a player-coach relationship that experienced moments of tension. It serves as a compelling microcosm of the larger challenges facing the Dallas Cowboys as an organization: the pressure of living up to their storied history, the frustration of a prolonged championship drought, and the complex dynamics between veteran players and coaches brought in to change an established culture. Lawrence's 11-year journey with the Cowboys took him from promising rookie to defensive cornerstone to disgruntled veteran questioning the team's championship capabilities. His heated moments with McCarthy, while limited in number, highlighted the difficulties inherent in establishing new leadership within a proud franchise accustomed to certain ways of operating. When Lawrence ultimately departed for Seattle with a pointed comment about Dallas's inability to win a Super Bowl, it crystallized years of accumulated frustration and forced difficult conversations about the franchise's direction. For McCarthy, his 5-year tenure with the Cowboys exemplifies the paradox many coaches face with this particular organization: regular season success that ultimately means little without postseason glory. Despite 3 consecutive 5 seasons and a .583 overall winning percentage, McCarthy's inability to guide the Cowboys past the divisional round of the playoffs sealed his fate. The heated moments with Lawrence and other veterans suggested that while he may have had the tactical acumen to win games, he never fully captured the complete buy-in necessary from key leaders to transform the team's postseason fortunes. As Lawrence begins his Seahawks journey and the Cowboys navigate their post-McCarthy era under Brian Schottenheimer, both parties are writing new chapters that will inevitably be measured against what could have been had they remained together. For Lawrence, success in Seattle would validate his decision and his assessment of Dallas's limitations. For the Cowboys, proving Lawrence wrong by finally breaking through in the playoffs would represent the sweetest possible vindication. If you love this video, click on the card showing on your screen for more videos like this.